Hey guys, welcome to Every Damn Friday. Uh, I'm really excited today. A lot of times I have musicians on here, and I've had a couple artists, uh, but very few people kind of get to merge those two things together. And today's guest, Jim Madison, uh, Print Mafia, was where I knew about him before, and you can see behind me, I'm a huge fan. I have lots of Print Mafia stuff here in the shop. But Jim he is he's such a unique artist. He's in that print world where like he's done show bills for all of my favorite artists and all the coolest people ever. Uh, let's welcome Jim Madison to the Every Damn Friday podcast. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I was just gonna keep talking about you. I thought, well, I should probably say hi and let him talk.
It's yeah, but I just did a gig poster for you. Well, when did I do that poster?
That was in the spring. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was in May. And it
yeah,
was the coolest because
yeah,
so it- maybe I'll show a picture of this in the comments, but he did one of the barn and the colors. He was really into these colors at the time, like a magenta and green and blue. And it just so happened that like he was already doing this, and then we had the Aurora Borealis that
yeah,
like happened like right at the same
yeah,
time, but it was perfect. It's like you did. It's like you knew it was coming.
yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, I've really been into like fluorescent inks lately. So
With all the rat fink stuff and all of
yeah,
that, like, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. So you've lived in Bowling Green your whole life?
yeah. Well, yeah. I have. I'm 55 now. I live in Franklin, Kentucky
Okay,
now,
okay,
but I just moved here just like 3 years ago,
okay.
maybe 2 years ago. Yeah. So
But you grew up kind of were you like in skater culture and all that kind of stuff and like punk rock and
yeah, but it was all from Bowling Green. Bowling Green really changed back. I don't know, and I said I was going to try to remember this like exactly whenever, um, they moved Corvette to Bowling Green, and that totally changed everything. So that's when those kids from St. Louis came down. That's where everything really kind of changed. Kind of changed.
you got all this new like infusion of culture and
Yeah, yeah,
people that have from bigger cities that had seen some stuff.
yeah, and then those kids, and then and that was probably like eighth grade, maybe
Okay.
seventh grade, middle school. But back then, middle school was part of you just went to like elementary school and then you just went straight to
Yeah,
high school.
that's the way I did it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we moved, so whenever all that kind of was changing, and then we went to high school, even more kids from all over, and then that's when it really kicked into gear. So
So
that's why.
when did art become something that you did? Was that in high school or
No, that has been around since like day one.
okay.
Um, my grandfather was an artist. My mom's dad was an artist. So, and he would just draw. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and so that's where a lot of this stuff really had like,
And they fostered it. Like they
yeah,
nurtured
yeah.
it.
So in then my uncles, my dad's, my mom's brothers, they were um they were younger than her, so I really got a lot from them, from like music. That's where I first was like introduced to like Pink Floyd, AC/DC, and then like sci-fi and Rat Fink even, and just all the weird cool stuff that they were into. It kind of went over on me. So that was kind of my hub of becoming an artist. So
We kind of share that. My grandparents, I spent a lot of time with them. I live in their house now. Like
okay,
it's been this like real big cosmic pull for me. Like I always knew I would end up here because it was probably the happiest place that I ever was. And grandma was that way. Like she would be like, "Well, I want you to draw this for me." Like she would be busy, and I
yeah,
was thinking that she really wanted something of mine, but it was more of a keeping me busy.
yeah,
But they kept everything. So like when I got married, they she came to my wife and said, Stella, I've got this folder of all Josh's drawings. Would you like those? And my wife
that
was
is
like, no, I
awesome.
don't want them. But I have them. And
Yeah,
but that was the kind of like I think people need that kind of push along, especially when you're doing something like the arts where, you know, it's so crazy that you have this superpower, and because other people, it doesn't come easy to them, you're the weirdo.
Yeah, yeah,
But you're the one that can do the cool stuff. So, was that something you experienced in high school?
yeah. I was kind of like in high school. Well, like there was art in high school. My art teacher in high school, Mr. Wheely, was pivotal into what that why I'm here today, and why I still do what I do. Um,
He's the one that
and
ruined your life.
yes, he's the one that ruined my life. But yeah, they did they there was four classes, and there's art one, two, three, four. You couldn't take art one in high school unless you submitted a portfolio.
Okay.
Most didn't do that. Um, so I was in art one as a freshman, um, when actually most people in there were like juniors and seniors.
Okay.
Um, so that really, that was a big like wake up call. So like I was friends with a lot of older, like juniors and seniors, and then I was really into, I had some skills, so I was kind of known that as an artist, a creative person from the upperclassmen, and then it just kind of bled down. I have a hard time staying on track, but I think maybe I answered the question. I don't know
I think
for
you
sure.
did. Hey, is it like, I mean, Bowling Green to me is still considered pretty rural. Now, I mean, I'm from middle of nowhere, so it's
Yeah,
very much rural here. It was neat that I was into art, and the teachers liked using me for bulletin boards and all that kind of stuff growing
yeah,
up. And I did some murals for the school and different stuff, but it was still like this kind of outside thing, right? Like you
yeah,
can't do that for a living, kind of mentality. Uh,
yeah.
so
And
for you,
that's changed. That I think that has changed. So, I, you said it right there. Like doing it for a living. Like I thought my whole life is here until like way later, after everything, even through college, that being an artist was not like I was going to have to be maybe like a graphic artist,
yeah.
uh, have a job, and then maybe I'd be able to do stuff on the side, or there was only like it's not like now we got so much information, like with Instagram and stuff. We're looking at all these incredible artists of all ages and seeing what they're creating like that day. See that didn't
I mean, my
exist.
12-year-old gets on CapCut and makes these animated, like little shorts that he draws on his phone, where he's
Yeah,
doing like I don't know how many like frames, but he's doing all this cool stuff. And when I saw it for the first time, I was like, "You did this?" He's like, "Yeah, I do it all the time." And he's got more followers on YouTube than I do, you know, but like there was no reinforcement of that, you know,
yeah,
when we were coming up because what were you gonna work at Disney, or were you gonna like draw political cartoons for the Courier Journal? Like there was really no in between.
yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly like that's the way that I grew up. Like I was always, like my grandfather, the artist, like he was, he managed a grocery store, and then when he retired from there, then he was a librarian, so he always had a job, and he just drew like late at night after work. So I grew up with that mentality that I was going to have to work and then do what I love after hours. So I kind of took that with me into, well, I mean, I probably up until I don't know how long I've been like not working my day job, but it hadn't been long, maybe
Right.
years.
Well, I saw it. I think um, I've listened to a lot of people, and Rick Rubin, talks a lot. He makes a lot of these inspirational posts. He contradicts himself a lot too, but he is
Yeah,
kind of like a Zen master, and
yeah,
and he's like, it's okay if you have to have a job to
yeah,
finance the thing that you want to do. And it's okay if it is just you're only producing it for you. And it's okay. Like, I think the important thing is that as long as you keep doing it, there's a point where you can kind of weigh the pros and cons. I know for me, it was the irony is I quit my teaching job to play music, and I ended up financing that period of my life by painting. because it paid better than the music did. It
Yeah,
was like I don't know. You have to do things the hard way. But I could probably even now probably make as much money doing the art as I do at my day job if I just did it, right?
yeah,
And I think that's the key. You have to have the ways to just say, you know what, I'm going to make this work, and
yeah,
it seems like that's what you've done.
yeah. I always, well, I say a lot of stuff, but it wouldn't be with like my wife Anna. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be doing it full time if it wasn't for her. If it wasn't for her, like saying, um, like, hey, maybe we can cut back or we can work together. And not that I just like quit my day job all of a sudden. I went down
Right.
and I was working like 3 days a week. But she was like, really? I mean, we could make like, you know, you'll be able to do more if you just like, like pick up some shows and go on the road and just you'll just be happier.
It
You know?
don't that's the key. Like that is the key.
Yeah,
Like I've been real lucky that I've kind of fell into a job that still aligns with what my career was, where I have a lot more flexibility and autonomy, and and it allows me to kind of go back and forth. And because if I had to do it every day, I'd probably be like, I gotta go do this thing.
yeah,
But it lets me do both instead of being shackled to a job that doesn't let me do the other thing. But you're right. The other thing too is the support. You know, my wife, she was like, I promised her I'm going to pay all the bills, like music,
yeah,
like I'm going to work, and you won't have to pick up any slack. But there was definitely things that we cut out, and she had to be okay with it, or it wasn't going to happen.
yeah, exactly. I mean, um, I didn't consider myself like an artist or any of that kind of stuff until I had to consider say like, okay, so um,
That's what I do for a
what I
living.
am, that's what I am.
Yep.
Like I can't look at someone else as like like a Frank Kozik or someone like a very successful person that does the kind of stuff I do and be like, okay, that I'm not successful because I'm not at that point. And I was very happy, I guess, not being happy working a
Yeah.
job. But I also say that like where um what I always kept in mind that what I was doing when I wasn't, printing or doing my own stuff. So everything I had to do on the outside to make that happen was just as important as doing this stuff myself.
It
So
made it possible.
I had to remind myself what benefits a day job brought. And sometimes I wish I still
Mhm.
had that. You know what I mean? Like if I knew at the end of the week I was going to have money to get paper or ink or any of that kind of stuff. Um, that there was a freedom in having a day job that I don't.
It wasn't so much you weren't having to do the math. You weren't having
Yeah,
to math it out and be like, this I've got to make this create this much revenue because it.
yeah,
But that's also going back to what you said about having to say I am an artist. I'm not just a teacher who draws or paints, or a teacher who plays music, or a grocery manager who draws at night. You know that is a neat feeling when somebody asks you
yeah,
what you do and you're like, oh, I'm an artist.
yeah,
And it does it like even if you're broke, like it's the best feeling to say it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is nice doing this full time. I just know there's probably more people out there that say that don't do it full time, and I just don't want to be like discouraging. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
saying,
yeah. It's
yeah,
totally however you do it is cool.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You've worked hard enough and been at it long enough that you've arrived at this place. Like
yeah,
I keep telling people that I know that are retired and doing some different things because I'm not so far away from that. And I was like, I aspire to retire, like because you won't be able to hold me back. Like I'm just be a madman.
yeah.
Um,
You know, it's one thing like this whole thing, and I'm still learning like the balance of stuff. So like when I first was like, um, I was actually it took me a long time, and I'm still getting there. Like I got so used to working, doing like Prep Mafia with Connie, and then doing stuff by myself, and having a day job the whole time. I was really good at managing little pockets of time to do what I do. I
You
got
didn't
really good at
compartmentalize things,
yes,
and your schedule was tight, but you knew
yeah,
exactly what had to happen.
yeah. And so when I finally said, okay, I'm gonna do this for a living, then I was not so good at managing a whole bunch of time
It's hard
because
it's hard to start the day.
it is.
And
And
I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but that's one of my things I like about you, like your routine videos, your morning routine. I think that's super important. Uh,
yeah,
I know songwriters that's the first thing they do every day is they spend 30 minutes and they just write. And they
yeah,
try to write a song in 30 minutes, whether it's terrible, like it's a throwaway song, sometimes really good stuff comes out of they force themselves to kind of get the ball rolling. And
yeah.
I've been guilty of just I drink coffee till 10 o'clock and then it's like, I got to get to work.
Well, I do a lot of thinking, and like there's a lot of but like when I first started, I was just like gun ho, like I was getting up and I was like working like well, I was thinking so now I have like not just in 2 hours to do something. Now I have 8 hours to do something. So I was working like I was working for 8 hours, like I had 2 hours, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was producing all this work, which was good, but then I got to a point where I was like, okay, now wait a minute. Like I've got, I've run through all this paper, I'm running through all this ink, and I need to be able to figure out how to now. What I really need to be working on is I don't know if marketing's the word or any of that
No,
stuff. How to
that's
like,
not a dirty word. Yeah.
yeah, how to get out there and get rid of so I can make more. When Connie and I first did Print Mafia and stuff, we didn't know we didn't think anybody was gonna. We did not go into it
Well,
like
let's talk about Print Mafia for a second.
yes.
So how did that all come about?
Um. Well, Connie and I met through Stacy. Stacy and I were friends. She introduced me to Connie. Um. And Connie wanted to make Stacy. This goes way way back. So Connie wanted to make Stacy like a oh god, who was it? Oh my, I can't believe I can't think of who's Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh,
I
blessed you no,
I can't believe it. I I can't
our
believe
brains are mush.
I
I
mean
said, what about breakfast at Tiffany's? She said, Audrey Hepburn.
yes, Audrey Hepburn. She wanted to make her
For a minute, I thought you were talking about the song. Yeah, Audrey
no,
Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburn shirt. So we made that together, and that was the very beginning. That's how it all started.
And then how do you get aligned with venues and with the artists, because the people that you did, like, you did prints for everybody.
Yeah. Well, most of them were through venues to start off with, and then as we kept going, we started
You
working with
like just contract, like,
yeah. Um, like so we liked working together. We wanted to do more stuff together. And then I don't know how we came up with the idea for doing gig posters. I think like it was like Art Rock was a catalog that sold gig posters like back
yeah.
in the day. So and I was at the time I was like, do you remember 328 Performance Hall in Nashville?
Hmm.
Okay, so I would, they would send me. It's when I was going to Western. They would send me a stack of posters to hang up on campus, and I would get into shows free.
Okay.
And then about around then, so I kind of knew that maybe there's this way to get into shows free if you get if you
Mhm.
can promote the show for someone, maybe you can get into the show free. So that was always in my mind. And then also about that time, I was screen printing, so I was like, oh, I can make multiples. So there was that, and then um, Art Rock Catalog was our introduction to like gig posters, like seeing like artists like Kozik and Coop and Lindsey Kuhn and like and Emick, like seeing like these poster artists, and so that was brewing too, and then we started doing stuff for like local bands.
Well,
I
you
might
just
be
love music too, probably.
yeah. It was all because we loved music. Like that's really was what it was. Um, and so it just kind of all just came together. But it's Frank Kozik's book. the first one, can't think of what it's called, but he had basically like a map of what you do. Like you just call a club and say, "Hey, I want to do like 50 posters. I'll give you 25. You can give them to the band, promote the show. Can I get in the show free? And then I'll sell this. It's a gray area. I'll sell these on the back end to get my, to make up. Like it's all risk on us.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what we did. And then the Art of Modern Rock came out, and then that just opened the doors for everything. So
Well,
after,
and then like my wife and I were watching Mad Men there for a little while, and I was like,
yeah,
"Hey, look, you see that right there? That's not from the '60s. That's from
yeah,
Bowling Green."
yeah, that so that was on there. That's a postcard from the '60s that we took and and reproduced again. But it's not like, when we reproduce something, it's not like we're putting it in a computer and making a code.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dog's jumping on me. So
Oh, that's
that
fine. Yeah, so
um
for the people at home, like the whole cut, paste, and destroy thing, like you're like Xeroxing and using, uh, uh, like the like clear,
transparency.
yeah, transparency stuff, and you're stacking things, and you're making like, I mean, it's like it. I mean, I remember playing on my mom's printer whenever she worked at her office, and I was a kid. You'd put your hand on there, and then you'd draw the turkey or whatever. Like you took that to a whole other level.
Yeah, yeah. Everything was real cut and paste. So like, when we reproduced that one for like we didn't reproduce it for the show. Um, I don't know exactly. Well, there's okay. Number one, there's a thing, a term that we learned. Connie and I learned. There's like set dressers. Set dressers work on movies to like dress sets. So we were in with a couple of set dressers. So um, I don't know if we were in with Mad Men because that's so specific, but that was, since it wasn't like our drawing, it looked like something from the '60s. It was a reproduction of something from the '60s that we did in our way. So we
Yeah.
actually took it, made a photocopy of it, so everything is not far from that what it originally looks like. Now it
But
looks
that was
like we
kind of,
did.
but that's your whole like motif,
Yeah,
like analog, like vintage,
yes,
like magazine advertisements and cutting stuff off cereal boxes or whatever.
yeah,
Like a
yeah,
real nostalgia.
yeah, and yeah, and that's the way it was with everything we did. Like for most of the bands we did, we were fans of. There's bands that we had like bucket list posters that we wanted to do. Um, so we're kind of always keeping those bands in mind. And I really felt like we did, like say if we were going to do a, a a a gig posters for the Shins. Well, I really felt like it was us, but it was still the Shins, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It wasn't
You
us and
you
it had
were
nothing to do with the
you were
band.
interpreting, like you were trying to say this is how I would cut and paste the shins. If
Yes, yes, exactly. And that worked with most bands except for one band that didn't want that at all. And that was that when we did the Tool poster series, which was huge then. Well, it's huge now. It set the
Yeah.
groundwork for all the stuff that's going on now. That's exactly what they didn't want. They wanted us to just do whatever and not think about them. They said, don't listen to our lyrics and don't look at our album covers. And they were like, we just want what you want to do,
which
which was interesting.
as an artist, like that's a neat thing though, right? To For somebody to say you have autonomy, like
Yes, that whole Tool project, and I talk about it. It's so weird, like talking about, because it's like so in the past, but it was still such a big deal. Um, it that was the band, like that time was, that was like right before the economy just went down. Um, but that was the most um respect we've ever had. Like it was like they paid us well, and they were like, we want what you do, not, we don't want you to like do what you think we want, or like do an artistic interpretation of who you think we are or what we sound like or what we are trying to like. We want you to do whatever.
well, and that's so like when I do the rambles. So every time I do the ramble, to me, the poster art is just as important as the show. And like I follow all these people on Instagram because I love their interpretations, in the way,
Yeah,
the people that truly have a style. And, and they're like, well, what do you want? I'm like, well, here's the place and here's the people, but like I want to look at it and know that this came from you. And
yeah,
and whatever it costs, like I want to pay your rate. Like same with the bands. Like I want it to, like I look at it as it's as much of the representation of the art of that show as the music is. And 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 like you said, like that is the pinnacle of it.
yeah, yeah. It was that was yeah.
Was there ever a
You get
point
it.
though where you're like, you know what? I've done everybody and we've done the, who else can we do that's going to be better than what we've done? Like, did it ever get to a point where you're like, I'm tired of doing gig posters?
Yeah, it did. Like it was, but I still do them today, and I've really cut back. Like it's, um, I mean, we would have always kept doing them. I mean, they're just cool to do. Plus, we're such music fans. I mean, heck,
Yeah.
Connie. I mean, started
Oh
a
yeah.
record label.
Yeah.
She's a huge music fan. We both are, but like we wanted to do more, and we started, like doing art prints and stuff that wasn't gig poster related at all. So we started working with some branding ideas and stuff, which we still well, Connie is definitely taken to a whole, she so like if you look at like okay, think about the gig posters, I think about like what Connie's doing now, like the Happy Jack
The California
cap
Doom and the
and yeah, and like like all and then like La Honda Records, her and Travis doing La Honda Records, and so um
yeah, it's very visual.
so it's kind of like that's the kind of stuff that I think we we weren't just doing just gig posters, but I think now that we aren't, print mafia is still a thing. We just don't, we really turn more people down than we take on. um and we've done a few projects here and there. Kind of, I still talk every day, but you can kind of see what we would have done if we weren't like print mafia. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for print mafia. But like, I'm trying to do. I don't know what I don't know what I'm just having fun.
Well,
Uh,
and like you said, like I think if a lot of artists go, okay, people are starting to say I'm this thing, you know, I have this breadth of ability and interest, so you're not gonna put me in this. I'm not just a gig poster guy.
yeah,
I do these other things too, and I say too, there's probably and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it because like Norman Rockwell is one of my favorite artists of all time.
yeah, yeah,
And he the art world hated him because he was working for the man, right?
yeah,
He was getting paid to do a thing that, I mean, it was his interpretation, but they're like, we want this kind of thing. And
yeah,
and I always thought there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like there's a whole other skill set involved with being clever enough to create something that's going to be popular,
yeah,
instead of thought provoking and scratch your chin kind of stuff. Like I think
yeah,
there's also some skill, like Aaron Draplin is one of my favorite graphic
yeah,
designers,
yeah,
and he just gets it. Like
yeah,
he's like, this looks cool and people are going to buy it,
yeah,
and it's simple and can really cut through it. And I feel that way about you too. Like it's like there's a certain aesthetic to it that it's like I just want to hang it up on the wall, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
not all art is that way.
Yeah. It took me a long time and it's kind of happened like over the years, like, um, to like shed like the fine art world as opposed to, what I do now, which is just, graphic design or whatever it is. Um, and gig posters and stuff. Like, you know, back then when I was going to Western, like if I would have done a gig poster, it would have been frowned upon. I even did some more pop art stuff, and it was kind of like not frowned upon, but it was just like this is not fine art. Like this is not what we're doing here.
Well,
Um,
and what's but at the same time, it's like those are the only things I have hanging out. Like
and
I've got
yeah,
some art, but the only thing that it's just a demographic and and at the same time, it's like, who wants to starve to death? Like, who wants to die before
Yeah,
anybody talks about your stuff? Uh,
yeah,
you know, it's a. I don't think there's anything dishonorable about going. You know what? I can monetize this thing that I'm really good at.
yeah. Well, another thing I always say is if I wanted to make money, I'd be doing something else.
Yeah,
Um, so it's weird to say, and it's hard to like, um, no, I don't even know if it's a word anymore, like sell out or whatever. Like I always wanted to be like the Melvins, like
yeah.
there was like Nirvana, who everybody knew, and then and then tragedy or whatever,
Yeah.
happened there, um, and and then there's the Melvins, which not a lot of people know who the Melvins are, and but the thing is, like if you go see the Melvins, like go to any place and go see the Melvins, it's going to be like there's going to be a ton of people there, and a ton of people know. So it's like this, and they're still themselves, if that
There's a
makes sense,
sweet
doing
spot.
what they wanted. Yes, um, kind of wanted to be there. So I don't even know if I answered your question. Like I don't go into stuff like thinking, oh, this is going to
It's going to make my
this
house
is going to
payment.
money. Now there has been some stuff that I've done where I'm like, oh wow, this has potential, or people are really liking this.
But that
Um,
wasn't what you set out to do.
it was not what I set out to do.
There's nothing wrong with having that sensibility, though.
Exactly. Yes. Like that skull, like that skull Sanders that Connie and I did. I see it back there. Yeah, like that. Um, when we did that, it was for Buckethead,
Yeah.
and on there, I mean, we did it right there in Kinko's. That was before we, had our own equipment to do our own stuff, and I was, it just it clicked. It took off.
Happy accident.
Yeah, but there's only so far you can, go with that, because it's not like if you'll get in trouble. It's when you'll get in trouble. Like it's like you can only go so far with it. But
Like the Obey Giant stuff with,
yeah, well, that's he. Yeah, well, but he that Shepherd Berry stuff. Like he's a little more like
he's trying to be a provocateur.
yeah, he's a little more like our stuff, like the stuff that kind of okay. So like working like right now, like for myself, like Rat Fink is licensed. Everything else, it isn't.
Yeah.
There a lot of stuff is in public domain, um, but I've done put Batman on stuff and Spider-Man on stuff, and but it's not like um,
Like Kiss. Like, did you ever get a cease and desist from Kiss?
no, they actually hired us. They
Even
hired
better.
for my yeah. Would I ever get one? I mean, I don't know. I still put Kiss makeup on stuff, but yeah, Kiss called us. Um, their merchandiser called us, and we are like, okay, well, I guess this is where we get sued for all the Kiss stuff we've done. And they actually hired us to do some cut and paste stuff, and then they produced it, and I still see some of the designs today that we did for them.
Well,
It's
they were
crazy.
another example of, of understanding the power of that marketing,
Yeah,
branding.
but I think like, and I don't think I know this for sure. Everything that Print Mafia did was, and the stuff that I do now, it came from, as corny as it is, from like Connie and I. It's like it. I mean, it was genuinely things that we love. So we love Kiss. So like whenever we do something that's Kiss, it's because we love Kiss. It's not because we're trying to
Right.
make a dollar, or it's like we're just like talking about the stuff that
It
that
was
that, that we
admiration.
like. Yes, exactly. So I think that came across in the work that we did. So like Kiss fans see it, they love it. I think Kiss saw it and they see it and they understand it, because it's coming
They
from.
took it as a compliment instead of,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, and plus we never did. I mean, it's not like we were making crazy a month, like a lot of money off Kiss or anything. So,
So,
you know,
so for the artists at home and like my kids, my son who draws every day,
yeah.
uh, like what is a normal day for you now? Now that you're doing it full time all the time?
Yeah, I okay. So number one, I like to keep it all kind of like loose. Drives drives people crazy sometimes, but the big thing is just get up and like get to work. Like so, I like to get up early and I have my coffee and think about where I'm at. It takes me a little bit to wake up, and then I know I just get to work. So if I'm finishing up something or if I'm starting something, I'm doing something. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So and then um, I like to if I'm gonna print something to have it printed by Wednesday, and then so I can. Social media is a big. Instagram's a big um, part of this too. It's like I tried to like talk about it, print it, and then have it available like so if I print something on Wednesday or Thursday, then it's going to be available on Thursday and Friday. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if
You're
so,
you're taking people through the process.
yes, yeah, yeah. So I guess that's not a really good. I just get busy doing something. So
Well,
and then
it's okay. So if you don't have commissions or you don't
yeah,
have like hired work, like what where do you go to at that point?
okay. Um, I'm constantly like I just got like tons of magazines and books and stuff, and I have like boxes where I just put like photocopies, reference material. So I've just constantly got a queue of just of what I want to what do I want to work on. Now I do like a Patreon, and I do like,
Okay.
and so that includes like I put like too many prints in each Patreon envelope. So like those like, but I do like I print 4 mini prints every other month. So it's like those little like that doesn't sound like much, but I'm already thinking about next month's. Like I just finished this like so
Well,
like
it's something I always liked about anything that I've ever ordered from you. Like it always came with little doodads, and I know Connie, when you buy a T-shirt, it's gonna have a pin and a sticker and a
yeah,
whatever. It's like it's little case candy stuff
yeah,
that people are like, oh yeah, like this is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, man. You always got to give somebody more than what they paid for, and like that's like I love doing that because so when I'm making like something, say I get up and I want to start on a project, I save like all the copies, all the reference material, and I just throw it in the milk crate. And then when I ship orders, I'll just grab like 10 sheets of paper out of there. And then I have one that I'll write, thank you on. And then I usually put like a mini print or something extra in there. Sometimes I put in films.
So I
And then
think I've got a little a little transparency of Skull Sanders.
yes, yes, yes. So like that was used to make those films. So it's like those little things that are just put in people's orders that just make their day because everything I do, like all this stuff, getting up early and doing all I do, it all comes down to whenever someone's like they spend their money and then they open that tube or that envelope. Like that's what it all boils. Like that's got to be
It
perfect.
can be very like I don't know, like sterile, and it's just the thing with the receipt or the
Yes.
invoice. But by
Yeah.
doing that, it's like, oh man, I gotta order another print because I want to see what Jim's gonna throw in there next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I do that monthly thing. Like I do have people that order every month because I do like an 11 by 17 photocopy. And I'm still like, that's one thing about like I got all 30 years worth of work that's that's I guess for sale for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
So there's enough reason
kind
for
of have an
people to come
archive.
back every month.
Yeah, you've got
So
kind of like got a back archives of stuff.
yeah,
Because every
yeah,
now and then I'll see you all throw, hey, we found some of these limited edition from 15 years ago or something.
yeah. That's so crazy because that's true. I mean, that is true. Like there are some stuff that we haven't even. It's crazy when we find stuff that's just
Because
totally
you just
forgot
stuck it
about.
somewhere 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Didn't think about it.
Well, it's just like you think about like all those hundreds of pieces of paper stacked on top of each other, and then some get in between, and even now when I'm just trying to manage just like newer prints I've done, I'll like move them off, and then sometimes like a couple get stuck under, in mixed in with another pile. So we do find stuff from time to time. But yeah, that was a big advantage when I first started doing like Instagram and really taking like social media serious as like, well, this can put more eyes on what I'm doing.
So
Is
let's talk about that because we're
okay.
older guys, and
Yes.
social media is you know it can be an albatross for some people, and it seems like a lot of extra work, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's the Wild West. It's like,
It
as a
is.
musician, you don't need a record label. You don't need a
Yeah.
manager. You don't need a booking agent at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
For a long time, you can be doing all these things yourself and sending emails and managing these things. And there was a time when you couldn't just cold message somebody, uh, hey, my name is Josh, and I'd like to do this or that. But I think
Yeah.
in a DM kind of society where so many people are, I mean, I get responses from like just for the podcast, like people that I really have no business getting a response from are like, yeah, man, that's cool, or I'm busy, I can't do that, but I appreciate you asking. Like the culture is so, I think it's easier to get through to people than it's ever been.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, and it can be an albatross. It really can. I try not to make it be, but it's man, it's such a heck of a tool, and it's really. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for Instagram, and if I didn't like take it serious and you know, another thing with me, Instagram, what helped me Instagram was like Instagram stories, because whenever I would do designs or I'd be working, Connie would be right across from me, so I had this person. I had Connie to talk to, and we'd go back and forth on stuff. And so whenever I was here alone doing it, I didn't have that, so I kind of turned to Instagram stories, turned into my Connie. So I would just
Yeah.
talk to it like I would if I was talking to her,
And you
or
get
hey,
feedback
yeah,
and
check this out, and all this stuff. And it's not like I'm getting, but it's not like I'm getting feedback. But you do get feedback like later. But like it was just, it was kind of nice to I act like I was. At least I wasn't talking to like just an imaginary friend. At least like Instagram
you were
stories
talking
was
to the
my
ether.
imaginary. Yeah, so like, and then it just made it to where, um, I get more people looking at stuff because, I want to share it. I want to, share and show what I'm doing, because there's other people that out there that are into the same thing. So
And it lets you live in Franklin, Kentucky,
yes,
you know, and
yeah,
and and
exactly,
and people from Australia can find you and say, I'd really
yeah,
like to have one of these.
yeah, and it's
Talk about your another piece of what you're doing, a lot of shows, like as a professional, like you're meeting up with other people who are doing the same thing you're doing, and like do you do conferences and like the big shows and things like that? I know you travel a lot.
Yeah, I do shows. I don't do like bigger shows. Like it's just like punk rock flea markets. Um, like I don't know if that's a trademark name or not. It might be. I really don't know the like behind that. I am trying to get into the oddities market, this oddities and curiosities market. That's supposed to be like a bigger show. Um, Everybody says it's awesome, so I really want to try one of those. But no, I do a lot of smaller, like smaller shows. Like I went to Oxford, Mississippi. Okay, like I went to Oxford, Mississippi is a perfect example. Last Saturday for a show. Um, Left on a Friday. My buddy Greg went with me. He goes by Sick Nick. So
Yeah.
he had a booth set up there too. But went through Tupelo, Mississippi, and it was like a whole adventure. But the show, it was a pretty good show. But like one person drove like 3 hours with his daughter to come say hello and talk shop. And that just means like that means the world, man. I mean, like it's just so I, that's why I do it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's rewarding, I guess. Is that the word? But but then also like another thing that happened is like this: as soon as these people came in, Greg and I were like, those are our people right there, because the show was, was a little like, it was a little slow at first. So these people came in. I said, that's our people. So they came back, bought a bunch of stuff, and it was and this girl she was like a chef. She had her restaurant, so she was like, hey, you should come by the restaurant. After the show, we went to the restaurant and got treated like kings, like
Yeah.
ate for free, and it was like the best food I've ever eaten in my life. It was like a like Food Network 5-star
Yeah.
food. So anyway, it's like those kind of experiences. Like you just, I'm not going to get them here. It is, you do have, I do think you do have to get out and kind of meet people. You should want to do that,
Yeah.
So
That was always the cool thing about traveling in general. That, like you could stay on the interstate and only go to the back of the venue and to the stage,
yeah,
but they all look the same. But if you like, I'll use this example a lot. Like we went out of the way to go to Hannibal, Mississippi, so we could go where Mark Twain, grew up.
yeah,
You know, because we were close enough to make that happen. And if you
yeah,
if you didn't take advantage of those opportunities, like you said, you meet somebody, you know, and you're almost like bartering. They're like, this is your talent. Let me share my talent with you too, and
yeah,
it becomes this kind of communal thing.
yeah, yeah. It's fun getting out on the road. I mean, I don't, now the van broke down in Athens, like that kind of stuff isn't fun. And,
Man
there's
is
some,
awesome.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's like, it's maybe one day I'll be able to get I don't know. I think I'll just keep buying
I was gonna say, just
older vans.
just keep the old van running. It'll be
Yeah.
fine. It's
Yeah.
my uncle used to say it's cheaper to fix one than it is to buy a new one.
Well, that was, that was the inspiration behind, like, I rented a van. It was so expensive to go to a Texas trip. And the van that I rented was horrible. Like it was so much worse shape than mine. And I was like, I could have fixed my van. I could even like got my van up to par
Yeah,
and
for
been
what you
better than
spend.
when I rented. So I was like, I'm driving whatever I have next time. That's it, period. I'm not renting anymore. But
That's
probably
kind of
will rent.
romantic too.
Yeah, it probably will rent when it's time to go out though. I've been through the Rockies, and I wouldn't take my van out there.
We
Yeah.
we ours was called Elmo, and we actually had a Skull Sanders on one side, and we took uh what was the Louisville record store uh that closed? Oh,
The which records? Oh, Ear Ecstasy.
ear ex we took an ear ecstasy
Yeah,
sticker and cut it down where it said Elmo, and it was
yeah,
El Molesto, and that was our guy. But man, we broke down so many times and
yeah.
flipped trailers and it just off like overheated and he just barely
All
made
the
the
fun
shows. But
stuff.
but man, like that's what I talk about. I don't talk about the shows. It was the adventure.
Exact. Yeah, yeah. And
So
now that
what is your favorite what's your favorite thing that you've ever done? Like what is the one that you're like this is my proudest achievement?
like as far as like an image or
Well, maybe it was a print for your favorite band, but like what is there a
oh
thing that you're like, you know what, this is what I'm known for, this is like this my favorite thing.
yeah, man. There's so many. There's so many like things that I'm happy with, I should say. Um, but like, that ABC's a rock book that Connie and I did. Um, that whole thing was like such a journey from beginning to end, and so much happened in getting that book out. And so
And then a lot of things happen from it, I'm sure.
yeah, well, it did. I mean, um, we were told that when you do a book, it's really like people that are make a living or are successful doing books. They don't come out with one book, come out with a lot of books.
Yeah.
So like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and like that was one of the examples. So we're gonna do this ABC's of Rock book, and immediately you probably want to do like another rock and roll book, like British bands, or like go from there, like do a series of books. So that was all in the plans. And Connie and I were just the illustrators on the ABC of Rock. The author was whose idea was in the beginning was a girl named Melissa Duke Mooney, who passed away right in the middle of the whole project.
Oh
Just
man.
a total freak. Just she got sick and didn't make it, and it was very upsetting. But like it was the whole process. Like for every letter, there was probably at least one or two designs done for each letter. We learned so much. We didn't think it was going to happen. So much stuff happened, for like Melissa's passing to getting it, released, because that's an official release, like all, 26 contracts. The financial end of it, all that stuff. Like,
That can people still get that? Can they go to Amazon and order ABCs of Rock and Roll?
yeah, and you could probably get them at half price books for like super cheap. It's weird. It went through a couple of printings, I think, because um it it didn't like it just wasn't like sold at like Barnes and Noble, or it was sold at like museums and bookstores. So now I remember. Like, okay, so that's one, that book. But also the biggest influence of mine ever was as Andy Warhol,
Yeah.
right? Andy Warhol, top. I mean, that's my number one.
Maryland, the soup cans.
Yeah, Andy Warhol. So, um, there was an Andy Warhol show in Nashville, and me and my daughter went. My oldest daughter, Maya. Um, and we went. So we go through the show, and then at the end of this, at the end of the show, you go through. We went to the gift shop in the I forgot what the art museum is in Nashville, but anyway, we went there. That's where the show was. So we went to the gift shop. They had all this. And there's one table of all just Andy Warhol stuff, and that Art of Modern Rock book was on that table because the V was Velvet Underground.
Okay.
So that was kind of like, okay, that's as close as I'll ever get to like being included in like anything Andy Warhol. Now I wish they would.
It was in the same room. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the same room on the same table, like kind of like, hey, if you like this Andy Warhol stuff, you'll like this ABC's a rock book. So that, like, those kind of things, like, it's hard to like. And probably when we're done with this interview, I'll think of a million other things. But it's all the little things, that kind of, I guess, make up everything, I guess.
So do you feel like 20 years from now, you're still waking up every day and you're still warming up the Z Rocks, and what's end game for you? What
Man, it's strange as I get older. Josh, how old are you?
I'm 45.
45. See, I'm 55.
Yeah.
And it's a lot different in my 30s and in my 40s. Now I'm at 55. I feel old. Like,
Don't you kind of like I'm starting to get to the point now where I just don't give a shit.
I,
Like
yeah,
like I used to really, really like I don't know, desperate's not the word, right? But I was
yeah,
kind of chasing stuff, and I
yeah,
was like, man, if I could just get this thing, or if I could just do this thing, like
yeah,
this would change everything for me. And you realize that you're accumulating like a body of work
yeah,
over your whole lifetime. And I
yes.
think for me, like that's at the end, I just want people to go, man, he made a lot of shit.
It- we're on the same page right there. Like, it's like to me, it's all one thing from the very first thing I did to the very last thing I'll do. That's all one big thing. You know what I mean? It all evolves. The one thing about the gig posters is they have dates on them, so you can actually see what's going on and put them in a timeline. Um, but I've been thinking a lot about like what my future is. I would like to, like, I'm not done by any means. I would like to teach and all that stuff. But one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older, and I guess it's wisdom, I guess I'm just, but I don't think I'm wise. I just think I've been,
You've messed up a lot, and that's where wisdom comes from. You're not born wise.
yeah, it's, well, it's like my mom, like Anna, my wife, and her parents, taking care of them, like roles reverse, and seeing my mom losing her mind. Uh, like I don't know what my future. There will be a time where like today I was doing designs. I had to bend down, get on my knees to get something up. I didn't think I was going to get up. I was like, damn,
My dad said the older you get, the more you look around first, see if there's something you can hold on to.
that's one thing. That's the future. Everything will be up on a desk somewhere that I need to work on. I won't be bending down. I'll keep going as long as I can. I just hope I don't lose my mind before it's over. That will be tough.
Just
It'll make for good social media content, but
just keep
it
the
won't be.
paintbrushes out of your mouth. So
Yeah, yeah. So
well,
uh
man, listen, I've had
yeah,
the best time talking to you.
it was
I've
awesome.
so much respect for what you do and kind of the genre you created. Like I feel like you created a genre, and
Well, thank
it has
you.
really kind of told the story of so much of what I did. It's almost like being a Bowling Green guy, where I went to school in Bowling Green at Western, and just how it kind of commingled with music and how I've got to deal with y'all on different projects and with Yellowberry and some different things. It's just been and I still like I'll go to Zanzibar and go to take a piss and the only
Yeah,
thing on the walls are your all's posters, and it
crazy.
it's just neat and I feel like you're a Kentucky treasure and it I don't know. I hope that you keep doing this forever. I tell people I'm like, the good thing is if I live to be 80 or 90 years old, that means I'm only halfway there.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. So and I've only just now starting to figure out what the hell I'm doing with
yeah.
anything. It's like, if I could just kind of stay remotely healthy, I can cause a whole bunch of trouble in 40 more years. So well, buddy, thank you so much. I know you're not feeling well. I appreciate you coming on. I hope you get feeling better. And guys, go check him out. Follow him on Instagram. And like I said, you never know. There may be some old school print mafia stuff pop up every now and then that you need to get your hands on. That might make a house payment for you though.
Yeah, yeah, that will.
Well, thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening every damn Friday.